Vince, you had one too with a water sensor of some sort.
The water valve detected a leak, and Anna's mom was over, so we didn't have water because we were on a cruise and we couldn't be contacted.
I learned that lesson with potty training a little boy and shutting off the water to the house. You can guess how that got
He
triggered.
missed. That's awesome.
So I was like, okay, we are not going to have leak sensors around the toilets for a couple of years.
That's fantastic. You are listening to Season 3, Episode 11 of the Technical Difficulties Smart Home Podcast. I'm your host, Pete. We are continuing with our creator interview series with our guest today, Jimmy Hawkins. Jimmy has a popular home automation channel on TikTok. Are they called channels on TikTok? I don't know. I'm old. But Jimmy does TikTok, he's getting his feet wet on YouTube, and he has plenty to share about how he automated his home, first in Colorado and now in Georgia. And he even tells us about a very clever use he has for his Zeus shock sensors. Which is great because Zeus, as you know, is the sponsor of our show. Zeus makes smart home Z-Wave products you can depend on. I depend on them, our guest Jimmy depends on them, and you should depend on them too. Did you know that flooding causes an average of $8.2 billion in damages each year in the United States? Well, a smart flood protection system could save you, well, maybe not billions, but thousands of dollars in water damage. The Zeus Z-Box Smart Flood Protection Kit includes the Titan Water Valve Actuator, 2 Zeus water leak sensors, and the Z-Box Hub at a discounted bundled price. Zeus also offers a bundled Z-Box Smart Security Kit, or you can purchase sensors independently to use with your current hub. You'll find these bundles and all of the best prices on Zeus Z-Wave products at thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com. And now, on with the show. All right, we are back. Brandon, say hello to the friends out there watching our show today.
Everybody, I'm excited to be here. We had a big day of testing Yarbo, so very excited about that.
Oh, we are definitely talking about, it's Yarbo Day. We are talking about Yarbo. But first, Vinny, introduce yourselves to our listeners.
I'm doing great. Same thing with me. I'm with Brandon. Helped Brandon out yesterday. Get everything situated with his Ethernet cabling.
Much appreciated. Couldn't have got it done without you.
We were recording this in early March in Minnesota. Brandon, Vinny, and I live in Minnesota. I got 8 inches of snow. You maybe got 4 inches of snow or so. Jimmy, though, 0 inches of snow. Our wonderful guest, Jimmy, thanks for joining us here on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's a balmy 55 degrees down here today with 0 inches of snow. A little rain. That's about it.
Is 55, and is that jacket weather, like heavy jacket weather for you?
Maybe just a light pullover.
He used to live up this way, so I feel like he's used to the weather.
I used to be in Colorado, so we got the snow without the chip bone chilling cold.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. It is exciting though. Like normally, I'm not excited about snow. I personally wasn't excited about snow because I didn't even have gas for my snowblower, so I was out there shoveling with my 2 kids. But yeah, it's Yarbo Day. This is Brandon, your first Yarbo experience with the
Yeah, started last night, stayed up late, and was out there getting footage and got up early to.
His wife was like, "What is he doing?"
Oh yeah, she knew what was up. She's like, "Just don't wake me up."
It worked as expected. It got through the snow, and
Yeah, there was one spot where it got a little hiccup, and I gave it a good little nudge with my foot, and away it went.
Nice. And what about after the plow went through it? The plow
It
really
actually
packed,
went back and it cleared that spot again. So.
and it didn't have trouble with the packed plow snow.
It did not. It got
That's
right through
awesome.
it.
So you got the plow and the blower, huh?
Yeah, so I actually just put the plow attachment on prior to this recording, and it's been running while I was eating lunch, which worked out really well because it got that nice, all the way down to the pavement. So I'm pretty impressed.
Very nice.
Yeah. So Jimmy, obviously, no real need for a snowblower, automated snowblower, in where you are. But
the Yarbo also has the summer attachments, the mowing. Do you have any robotic mowers yet?
I do not. That was on my goals for last year, was to partner with somebody to get a robot mower. That did not happen. We'll see about this year because we do have about half an acre of property here that I would like to get a mower out there and test out, but hasn't happened yet. Maybe this year.
Well, welcome to the show. The first thing we always ask all of our guests is, tell us about your smart home journey and how you got into content creation.
Yeah, so Brandon, you'll like this story since you're a real estate agent. So my smart home journey began when we moved into a new home out in Denver in 2015. So before that, we my smart home experience is basically a Wi-Fi camera that we used in our then infant son's nursery to kind of monitor him and things like that. But we moved into a new build from Lennar back in 2015, and we went through the whole build process not knowing it came with anything smart home related, and then we're doing the final walkthrough, and the build manager or whatever Lennar calls him was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this thermostat here, it's smart, and this lock over here, it's smart also, but I don't know anything about it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." so I kind of took a picture of what was there, and went home and did some research, and come to find out at the time Lennar had a partnership with Schlage and Nexia to kind of include a Schlage door lock, a Train thermostat, and a Nexia Z-Wave hub with all the new builds they were doing. So yeah, I moved into this house in 2015 that has a Z-Wave door lock and a Z-Wave thermostat on it. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. I can, pull up their pretty rudimentary app at the time and control things and set a few basic automations. And with my tinkering skills, I was like, well, what else can I do? And off I went, and you guys know it's a down the rabbit hole from there on. I'm figuring out everything else that you can do. Next thing you know, you're at like 200 smart home devices and trying to automate everything. So yeah, that's what kind of started me into tinkering with smart home stuff.
Yeah, that's a really common theme that we hear on the channel. And for anyone that's watching or listening, Lennar has the everything's included plan now. And so it's kind of evolved over time. But now it's like you get the smart lock, you get a Ring doorbell, you get a thermostat, you get some Wi-Fi device to connect it all together. And there you go.
Yeah, they obviously need to work on rolling that out to their customers because, like I said, the salesperson didn't have any clue. In fact, they didn't even have the Nexia hub in the house when I moved in. I had to go to the sales office and be like, "Hey, I think I was supposed to get some kind of Z-Wave hub or something." They're like, "Oh yeah, I think we have one of these laying back here." And they're like, "Here you go, you can." Here it is. So hopefully they've gotten better since 2015 at rolling that out to their customers. But yeah, that's kind of what got me started.
But how did you get into like doing TikTok videos?
Like a lot of people, during COVID, everybody got on TikTok basically because there was nothing else to do, and it was kind of the growing social media platform at the time. So I got on there to watch funny videos, and I think at that time Vine had just been bought by Twitter or something and it had gone away, and so I got on there to watch funny videos and stuff, and I was like, well, I'm bored, locked in my house. What can I make videos of? Because spoiler alert, I can't dance or sing or anything, but at that point I'd amassed a pretty good amount of smart home devices and automation. So I was like, I'll just, I don't see anybody making content for smart homes and home automation on here. So let me do that. And I, started posting little, 1 minute videos around our house. And I think, a lot of it's probably timing because it kind of, that's kind of the beginning of TikTok, and it was growing quickly in 2020, 2021. And so next thing I know, people are watching them, and I've got, 10,000, 20,000. And it grew pretty quickly to 30, 35,000 followers. And kind of ever since, 2022, 2023, it's kind of just been a little more steady growth since then. But yeah, that's kind of what got me going. And the thing, and my wife kids me all the time. She's like, of all the people in the world to be an influencer, for some reason it's you. And I was like, I don't know how it happened. It was quite accidental, but here we are. So
what was your first video about, and then how do you feel about it now?
Oh man, I'd have to go back. I don't remember the exact first video, but I know one of the first ones I remember doing well was at the time our kids were toddlers, and we had a couple things. So we had a door sensor on our daughter's door because she was the type of kid that, you'd be sleeping peacefully in the middle of the night and you'd crack your eyes open and there'd be a face right there in front of you. You'd jump scare you awake. And so we had put a door sensor on our door so we'd get an announcement over Alexa that, that she was awake. And so now I've woken up all my Amazon devices. But But I kind of used that to also, once they started walking and using the bathroom in the middle of the night, I used that to create like a nightlight automation, so that in the middle of the night, if they open their door to use the bathroom or something, it would turn on the lights at like 20%. I think that was one of my first videos that people were like, "Oh, that's cool. How did you do this?" So on and so on, and did a couple of follow-up videos and other automations and things like that. So
nice.
Yeah.
What do you think? What has been your biggest challenge kind of growing your channel?
I kind of got a love-hate relationship with TikTok. Like I said, I think it's a little bit of timing and the initial growth, but since then it's kind of been a challenge because obviously their algorithm is very based on videos going viral. And so it's a little frustrating. You'll make a video. Obviously, you guys know we put a lot of hours into editing videos, and even the short ones. For me, short form, most of mine, at least back then, were 2 or 3 minutes or less. You spend hours editing this video, and you go to post it, and you think, yeah, awesome, this is gonna be a great video. And you'll post it, and it gets like 500 views on TikTok. But then, like on Instagram, where I think I'm currently like 9,000 on Instagram. It's pretty steady. You get steady, like for me, it's like a steady 1,500 to 2,000 views per video. And that's like a steady kind of, would expect that as a normal view count. So it's a little frustrating TikTok wise that you'll put all this effort into making a video and it does nothing. And then you'll post some video that you did a quick, like 30-second, don't even bother getting a mic out, or no editing, no nothing. You'll post it and it's the one that goes viral. So it's really strange on that platform. And with them kind of changing things, with obviously introducing TikTok Shop and everything like that, it's, as a user of TikTok, just me getting on there and watching stuff, it's kind of frustrating because you're like, I don't care about all these damn shop videos. And you're sitting there like scrolling past them. But at the same time, as a content creator, you're like, it's nice if there are a company that you want to work with that's on there, it's nice from the affiliate side that you get like 10 to 20%, affiliate commissions on anything that is in TikTok Shop. So it's a real kind of a lot of pros and cons on, on focusing on TikTok, but yeah.
Yeah. So what is your plan? Obviously TikTok got a reprieve here for a little bit, but
yeah,
we don't know.
Technically
It might
banned.
get shut down. So
yeah. So ever since, the ban was kind of announced, and with them kind of changing, their algorithm and stuff to focus on shop, it kind of was in the back of my mind anyway to start, moving more into the long form side. So I'd say probably about September last year, I started, filming horizontal, first of all, doing that and kind of moving more to the long form side. So it's been interesting for me, moving more long form. I kind of revitalized my YouTube page to start posting things over there. So I've gotten more into filming. I call it semi-long form because I don't think I've done anything yet that's longer than like 10 minutes. But it's been interesting kind of making that transition from doing, 1 to 2 minute videos to filming long form. And what I'm finding is that, it doesn't really take me that much longer to edit a long form video compared to a short form. And then once I have this, 5 to 10 minute video, I can then get 2 or 3 short form videos out of it. So it's really a lot more bang for your buck time wise on making a long form video compared to a short form video. So now that I'm, posting things to long form to YouTube and taking those short forms and posting it to Instagram and TikTok, it's been an interesting transition. So we'll see how it goes. It's still very, very new, but I am making a kind of a concerted effort now to film long form and then edit it short form videos out of that. And every now and then if I get like just a quick one I want to do, I'll film just a short and upload it to, shorts and reels and TikTok. But yeah, I'm focusing definitely more on long form content.
Are you talking tutorials? Are you doing more product reviews? What are you hoping to get into?
Yeah, definitely more on the kind of the tutorial side. So like when I started TikTok, it was more like, hey, here's an automation I have set up in my house. Like here's like I'll start out the video with here's the automation and then here's what I use to do it. And so I'm kind of getting back to what I was doing back in 2020, 2021, where I'm like showing an automation. Here's a product, the product or products that I'm using to do it. And, a little bit more of a how-to kind of as the video goes on. And so it's kind of almost getting back to my roots a little bit on kind of showing instead of, how-to videos on how to create certain automations and things like that. Now, with that said, there's obviously, with me having the majority of my followers still on TikTok, a lot of, if there's any partnerships or anything that come up, they're wanting short form videos. So I'll probably still do short form reviews and sponsored posts and things like that. It is a little bit nicer being able to, if it's a video that I'm wanting to create that's not sponsored or anything like that, which me kind of still being part-time doing this is kind of a little more freedom to kind of do what I want versus always having to have sponsored posts to, make a living off of.
Walk us through your content creation process, and while you're doing that, maybe highlights any tools that you're using for productivity.
It seems like it's constantly in flux. So I still film everything on my phone, by the way. That's that part of TikTok has not left me. I don't have any professional cameras or anything like that. I still film everything on my iPhone 16 Pro Max, I guess is what I have now.
What are we looking at you in? Is this your phone right now, or is this?
No, this is a OBSBot webcam.
So you're a liar. That's okay. It's fine.
I don't film content on it though, unless only for you guys do I use this to film content. Now that I'm shifting a little more long form, I'm doing a lot more talking head videos. I'll usually stand here with this in the background. I haven't quite decided yet if I'm doing full on scripts or just bullet points. I feel like I started doing full on scripts and reading off of that, and I don't have a teleprompter or anything yet, so I'm kind of glancing back and forth to my monitor in the background. I'll do talking head and obviously B-roll after that, or as I go reviewing something. Usually, is when I'll do B-roll, and then I use like a good TikToker, I use CapCut to edit. Now that's changed over the years. Obviously, in the beginning, it was CapCut on my phone. I'd be staring at my phone, trying to drag the sliders on this tiny screen. I finally invested. I think 2 years ago, I finally invested in a MacBook, and I still use the desktop version of CapCut on that to edit everything. Because I found, I'm very familiar with CapCut since it's what I started with on my phone when I was editing videos on that. But I found it meets my needs pretty well, and it's pretty easy to use. So I haven't looked into anything more professional, so to speak, for editing videos, but I'll edit videos on that. And then I've tried, as I've kind of done a little more long form, I've tried, CapCut has a tool to automatically, take a long form and chop it up and make short forms out of it. I've found it doesn't work that well. I need to use, I think you guys have said you're using Opus before to do that. I need to see if it works a little better, because what I've found is, it doesn't, when I'm cropping a horizontal video down to vertical, it doesn't frame the video right whenever I'm converting it. So I'll usually go back and quickly kind of make some shorts out of it. But yeah, that's kind of the process I usually go through with filming and editing, and I don't use anything fancy as far as scheduling to post stuff. When I do go to post the video, sometimes if it's like midnight, I'm obviously not going to post it at midnight. I'll schedule it for the next day at like 11 a.m. or something to post. But I don't use anything as far as scheduling shorts or anything like that.
How do you come up with new ideas for new videos, I should say?
I kind of keep a running list in Apple Notes of kind of ideas and things like that. I think it's probably like 8 or 10 items at this point. I'll keep like ideas of either stuff I've already done around the house, or even things that on my to-do list that I want to do. Like, so for example, I haven't made my mailbox smart yet, so I can get alerts whenever we get mail. So that's kind of on my to-do list of videos in the future and things like that. So I'll just kind of keep a running list on Apple Notes of things, and then I'll also stick kind of bullet points in there, talking points that I'll use to make like a rough script out of and things like that.
Do you have any upcoming videos where you take your pants off again, or was that a one-time only?
That was a one-time thing, I think. And I'm not opposed to it. If anybody wants to send me some smart shower equipment or something, we can always blur those things out. But yeah, that was a fun video about that bidet with an app. I guess what Pete's referring to. If you guys, I know you guys have all seen it, but if the listeners on the internet out there are wondering what he's talking about, that was actually a connection from CES 2024. That was actually my first CES. I was wandering by BioToday's booth, and I was like, "Is that a app for a bidet?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's interesting." Another thing that came out of COVID was that we started using bidets around our house when everybody was scrambling for toilet paper like idiots. So I was like, that's kind of cool. Why? Why do you need an app for your bidet? And she like explained it. And I was like, that's interesting. Here's my info. If you guys ever, send samples or anything out, it'd be interesting to put on my channel because it would be an interesting video. And sure enough, like 6 months later, an email in my inbox is like, hey, we're sending out review units. You want one? I'm like, what the hell? Sure. Send it over. And I was like, and I'm sitting there like, how am I going to make a video about this that is, interesting? I was like, screw it. I'm just going to act like I'm sitting on the toilet. So I don't think there'll be more of those in the future, but you never know. I'm not saying never.
We've all been trying to convince Pete to get bidets on this channel. So.
Come on, Pete.
So I'm not against it. I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I've been offered a few smart toilets, and I want them to pay me to do the smart toilet instead of just doing it for free. Right? There's a cost to it because you gotta install an outlet and different things. And yeah. So
that's also one of my other thing as being a part-time content creator or influencer, whatever you want to call it, is the more you get into this, the more you amass a following and seeing the work that goes into these videos, you want to get paid, and you want to be sustainable to keep your channel going and growing, and that's always been a battle of mine because obviously in the beginning I've made connections with some cool companies, and it's like in the beginning you're like, oh yeah, awesome, yeah, send it for free, whatever, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, like this is a lot of work.
So what is part-time to you? How many hours a week are we talking?
Oh man. So part-time, and this is a constant battle with me, is I'm, cause I have a full-time W-2 job that, obviously depending on projects and that's going on over there, it can be pretty demanding too. And my wife has a very busy job as a real estate agent and a company that she's growing, expanding beyond just real estate, that she travels a lot into. So to me, it means some weeks I post 3 videos and other weeks I post 1 video every 3 weeks. So there's no like set schedule unless it is like a sponsored video where they have a due date or something. I film during the day or at night, and then some nights I'm up late editing a video if it's something I just want to get done or there's a deadline. I'd say if I were to put it hours per week, oh gosh, it's on a normal week where, both her and I are home and we can kind of split, running the kids around to dance or baseball or whatever, it's probably still 4 to 6 hours a week easily. That's on I'd say a light week. There's times where I'll spend 2 to 3 hours a night, 3 or 4 days in a row trying to get a video done.
You're getting 3 videos done in a week. That's super productive.
No, not always. Okay. Not always. It's like
even if it was just one, I feel like that's pretty
well,
good.
That's one long form with like 2 shorts. I'm not doing. Okay. I'm certainly not doing 2 or 3.
This isn't like a 16 lock comparison that you're cranking out in 1 week in just 5 hours.
No, I listened to y'all's episode with Michael Lean on it, and he was talking about how he's doing 2 or 3 a week as part-time. I'm like, I don't know how, man. That's impressive because that's it's a lot of work to edit a good video. That's kind of what bothers me about TikTok too, is you got people that they're solely on there to sell stuff out of TikTok Shop, and they won't even like set it up. They'll just like have a box in front of them, like, this is the Govee whatever, blah 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 blah, and it does this, and they don't even open the box and they post it up. I'm like, what is the point of that? Like, that's ridiculous. But I mean, at the same time, there are
want to get paid.
Right, exactly, but at the same time, there are companies. There's like Govee and Tapo and Reolink. There's some big smart home companies.
There's quite a few that are.
The car doesn't have a shop on there, but I wish they did. But some other companies, they have shops on there. So it is like, that's the conversion on TikTok's always been a struggle for me too, is because you can't post links in the description, you can't post links and comments. So if it's not in TikTok Shop where it's easy to click on there, people have to go to your bio. They have to click on your link in bio and go through that way. Unlike like YouTube, where you can just put a link directly in the description, and it's really easy for somebody watching your video to go, oh, that looks cool. Like, how do I, where can I find it? So conversion's always been a real struggle on TikTok. But
I think of TikTok and other like short form stuff as like, you're just doom scrolling and then you catch something that's interesting. Whereas on YouTube, you're probably doing a little more research. Like, I wanted to buy a gimbal, And
Yeah.
so I just asked a few people I knew, like, hey, do you have a gimbal? What do you like about it? And then I watched, a dozen or so videos to figure out
Yeah.
like which one. I did use one of the affiliate links of someone else because I felt like the stuff they were saying was very valuable. And you can't
Right.
use your own affiliate link, so I always try to support a friend.
Have you had any unexpected like viral videos on there? That ones that took off that you didn't think maybe?
I think my first viral video, I think it hit 2 million views, I'd say, on TikTok, was probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was right before Christmas, and it was about how there's no children listening to the show, but if you want an alert that you're playing Santa and you don't want it to be ruined, because at the time we had, I think our son was 6 and she was 4, and we had like a balcony overlooking our living room, so like it was like a real struggle to get it out there and assemble Christmas real quick. So I did a video on how to get kids are awake announcement so that it wouldn't ruin Christmas, and that one, yeah, I think it ended up doing 2 million views. Most recently, I did actually, this video did well on both TikTok and Instagram. It was a video on getting switching out my Ring doorbell for a car doorbell, with the whole premise being cancel your subscription for a video doorbell. Here's an example of a doorbell. It doesn't require a subscription. It has a micro SD card and stuff like that. And that one, I think it hit like 800,000 on TikTok and 600 on Instagram or something. And that's where I learned. It really, when you watch a video like that, yeah, as you guys probably know, TikTok does not pay very well for views once you're monetized on there. I think that video that did like 800,000 views on TikTok, I think I got like $350 out of from TikToks themselves. And I'm always like, if I had a video like that did well on YouTube, I really wonder what it would do. But yeah, it's always interesting to think about.
So what's your personal smart home setup look like currently?
It's been a journey. So like I said, when we moved into that house in Denver in 2015, it started with Nexia, which I never heard of much smart home stuff to begin with besides like Ring. Nexia did not last very long. I think I used it for like a month or two, and I was like, what else can I do smart home wise? And then at the time, it was like, okay, there's Staples Connect, and there's Wink, and there's Smart Things. And so I was kind of doing research around, the pros and cons of each of those systems. And Smart Things had just started a Kickstarter for their V2 hub. And this is in 2015. And I was like, okay, that looks like a pretty flexible ecosystem, and I could really grow, my smart home. So I switched from Nexia to Smart Things once that came in. And I stuck with Smart Things from 2015 to probably just a couple of years ago. So call it, 2023. And I was really into Smart Things. And I still think it's actually a really good platform. And I was, frequently on their forums, kind of chit-chatting with people. And I even ran a Smart Thing. I called it Smart Things Beat. It was like a Twitter account that would post like updates and leaks and stuff like that was coming out on Smart Things. They were never good at, they're kind of like Apple in the sense where they don't really announce upcoming features or anything. You just have to kind of discover it yourself, so to speak. So it was kind of a good way that if somebody wanted to see what was coming on the Smart Things platform, they could go to Twitter account.
No one saw the yacht control coming. No one saw that.
no.
From CES.
Nobody did. But so yeah, I was super into Smart Things. I still keep up with it a pretty good bit, but I think it's kind of the natural evolution, as probably all of us have gone through with automating things and getting into your smart home, is I kind of just gradually outgrew it. And so the next natural progression is
Don't say it.
Home Assistant. Oh. So a couple of years ago, I did end up switching to Home Assistant, and it was kind of in the back of my mind as, I grew to, I think I had like 250 devices at the time, and there was always things that I was wanting to do with Smart Things that I couldn't quite do, or it was a real hacky workaround. Like you had to create a virtual switch that would link to your Amazon account to do announcements and things like that. And of course, they were going through a platform change at the time to get rid of Groovy and move over to Lua or to YAML and things like that. And it was kind of just a natural thing. And at the same time, Home Assistant had come out with Home Assistant Yellow, so it was much easier to get started with Home Assistant because I don't code, so I'm very tinkery, but I don't code. I don't ever want to code. I don't want to spend my time learning to code. I like to say I'm a Home Assistant on easy mode user. So when Home Assistant came out with the Home Assistant Yellow, I was like, this appeals to me a lot because I don't have to set up a server or flash a Raspberry Pi or do anything. It's something that, is officially released from them that I can buy and plug in and set up. And in fact, at the time, I didn't even have my own laptop. I just had a work laptop that I didn't want to really obviously get onto. So I mainly used my phone because I want something I can set up with my phone. And the Home Assistant Yellow is great for that. It plug it in and fire up the app and you're up and running. And from there, obviously, you guys know from there it's a little more difficult getting going on Home Assistant. But with me kind of seeing this as a hobby, I wasn't opposed to tinkering. And long story short, I'm now using Home Assistant as my main smart home platform.
So are you into YAML now? I know you said you don't like to code, but are you YAMLing it up?
So I never YAML from scratch. There has been occasions where there'll be certain things with like variables that I want to put into like a notification code in my phone that like says, okay, what sensor, like sensor name built into the notification. It's like, okay, front door has been open 15 minutes or back door has been open 15 minutes, And for that, something like that, you still have to get a little YAML-y and get in there because it's not quite available through the GUI to build your automation and Home Assistant. But I don't think I've done anything YAML from scratch, but I've done kind of, seeing what somebody else has done and like copy and paste it in and slightly modify it and tinker with it.
Tested it a little bit, and I get very frustrated with trying to learn Home Assistant because I'm used to.
I could easily see
things.
that. That's the thing. Like it's, you got your Home Assistant evangelicals that are like, it's the best thing ever. It's solving world hunger, and it's like that's not it, bro. Like it's not it. Like it's great. Like I think like a lot of people like us that eventually tinker and like it's good, like a natural progression to move into like you start with Amazon or Google, and then maybe you go to something like HomeKit or SmartThings, and then you outgrow those and you go to something like Home Assistant or Habitat. It's more powerful. It's a kind of a natural progression, and all these things could exist at the same time. Like this industry is huge, right? So it's fine. And I think what's interesting is I've talked to Paulus a couple times the past CESs, and they're probably the most self-aware smart home platform because he's like, yeah, we aren't there yet for like your parents or whomever to come set it up. Like we made a lot. They made a lot of good changes, like things like Home Assistant Yellow and Home Assistant Green that makes it easy to get set up. But like we aren't there yet with like the default dashboard is like terrible. You can't have a good dashboard or a mobile app experience without going in there and spending hours creating that for yourself or something like low battery alerts or offline device alerts that does not exist by default in Home Assistant. You have to go in and create it yourself, but they're fully aware of it. And that's like on their long-term plan is to make things easier like that. So they're very aware. They know where their current standing is with making things easy. And it'll be interesting to see how they do on their journey with the next, call it 5 years of balancing kind of the power users and the ease of use to attract new people. So.
Yeah, it's interesting that within the smart home hobby, there's like so many subsets. You've got like the Home Assistant guys that just scream that it's the best. And I could do that in Home Assistant. You just need XYZ and all this other stuff. And then you got your Apple fanboys and girls.
Right.
It doesn't work with Apple? Well, I'm out.
Yeah, I think it was George the other week posted something on his YouTube about, how should I get started, start explore Home Assistant. And I was like, look, just buy Home Assistant Green, plug it in, and see what happens. Like, see what it discovers by itself. And if you want to go from there, like, buy a Zigbee dongle, like even the one Nabucasa sells is a good option, and go from there. Like, just see how it goes. And like a lot of people, like friends and stuff that are talking about it, they've tinkered for a little bit. I'll be like, if you're an Apple user, like a great natural progression is buy Home Assistant Green, and then don't bother setting up a dashboard in Home Assistant. Just take all those devices and port them to HomeKit and the Apple Home app. Use that as your user interface, so you got a nice, clean, easy to use user interface, but you still have like the device support and the automation power of Home Assistant on the back end. And then if you ever get to the point where you want to create a nice dashboard on a tablet or on your phone. Then you spend the hours it takes to build a dashboard. So I think it's very flexible, but yeah, if you go into like the Home Assistant community and as a new person trying to read it, like you're going to get overwhelmed immediately with people like, oh, you need to like take a server and set it up, or even like a lot of people buy mini PCs, and I think that's a pretty easy option. But like most, like 99% of the people, they'll be perfectly fine using a Home Assistant Green as a plug and play option. So
I feel like Home Assistant can be a little deceiving on the front end. Like you plug it in, you get set up, and all of a sudden it'll discover every single Wi-Fi device you have in your house. And you're like, oh wow, that was really easy.
right.
And then you start getting a little more into it.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, this is getting a little more difficult as we go a little bit further and further.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yep. What do you think are some of the most overrated and underrated smart home devices today in the market?
Let's start with underrated. So I'm going to flash back to y'all's latest episode. I think robot vacuums are totally underrated. I think they're probably the best smart home invention to come in the past however many
100%,
years.
But you get what you pay for.
It
Not
saves
something
time.
you want to cheap out on.
The whole point is to save time, save you time, and I think robot vacuums are excellent at that. And then they're coming down on cost too. I mean, you figure you can get like for $500, you can get yourself a really solid robot vacuum that has like a self-emptying dustbin and even self-cleaning mops and things like that for like $500 now. You got to figure, 2 or 3 years ago, that same model was, $1,200. And it's crazy. They're kind of doing the, I guess it's a typical electronics industry where they just take that flagship model, just keeps getting bumped down and reduced in price until it's, pretty affordable. It's kind of the trickle down effect. So I think robot vacuums are underrated. Overrated. Oh man, that's tough because I have a wide variety of things.
I guess they're all perfect. All smart home devices are perfect. And
it's tough to say because like companies like MyQ and Ring and things like that, like they're a great, like easy to use intro to smart home. So it's hard to hate on them for that. But I think, if you were to like if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, like I'm looking to get a doorbell or something, everybody seems to use Ring, I'd go, you know what, I think you should just skip that stage and go get, an Aqara doorbell or a Reolink doorbell or a Tapo doorbell, that way you don't have to have a subscription and you'll get, 90% of the functionality out of it and go from there and probably better quality. I know, like, I think, was it 2 weeks ago where Ring released their new, one of their new outdoor cameras, and it was like, hey, it has 2K out of the box. And I'm like 2K, like there's companies like the base now is like 4K, like every model now has 4K, and there's even like some crazy like 8K models coming out. Like that's wild that they're so excited about like, hey, we got a 2K camera, and it's like, you're not really innovating anymore like you used to. But
yeah,
you really nailed it there with the subscription cost.
Yeah,
and you can get something that records locally and is less money and then doesn't require you to pay for cloud
we'll
services.
have to all see if we eat our words on the subscription now that they all have AI built in, and like they showed that at Amazon's event the other week where you could, the new AI Lady A, where you could say, hey, has anybody taken out the trash? And it'll kind of scrub through videos and say, yep, somebody in a red shirt took out the trash. And I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of cool, but it requires a $20 a month subscription.
So you've been at CES the past couple of years. AI obviously was a massive talking point for pretty much everyone there. What are your thoughts on AI in the smart home? Is it going to be beneficial? Is it going to be everywhere? Is it overhyped? What do you think?
So I think the potential is huge. I think it's huge, but I don't think we're there yet. So like when I think of AI in the smart home, I think of me no longer having to go in and write like if-then automations. Like if everything in your home now has sensors and data just flowing out of your house, AI should be able to determine kind of, okay, this is the baseline for what's happening in your home. Like, hey, around this time every night they go around and they shut off all these switches, and I know this because it's a smart switch or whatever. Or hey, like at this time, a lot of the times when nobody's home, they turn the thermostat down to this amount, and it should, be able to, AI in my mind in the smart home should be able to say, hey, Jimmy, I've noticed that whenever you leave the house, you turn your thermostat down to save money. Do you want me to automate that for you? Like that should be something that just happens so that
That's called a hunch, actually.
Well, yeah. So that's Amazon does it now, kind of, with very simple things like, hey, you've left home and your door is unlocked or something like that. And like the Nest Learning thermostat obviously can kind of do that, and the Ecobee does it too with I forget what they call it on their side, but kind of expanding on that, like home safety things. Like it should be able to say, okay, like every Echo Dot now has like a temperature sensor built into it. It should be able to say, okay, the temperature in this house is normally like 65 to, 75 or whatever. That sensor, if you got multiple sensors, like all of a sudden spiking in 90, 100, like, hey, maybe this house is on fire. Like maybe we should alert the owner that something's going on. Like you can expand into like home safety things, and if there's a fire, we should probably, unlock the doors and turn all the lights so that they can, get the hell out of there. So I think it's really, when I think of AI in a smart home, it's one of those things where I like nerds like us, we love going in, building automations, if then conditional things. But like for a normal person, like they should be able to better leverage all this data that their home is collecting and really make the home smart for them so that they don't have to do that.
And I think it's a lot more than people realize. Like I just looked up on my Home Assistant. I have, they call them entities on Home Assistant, but basically it's data points.
Yeah.
I have 3,412,
Right.
entities. And the idea that you're not able to, like, that the system or the AI system should be able to pile all that together to be able to come up with a good picture. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and every person probably doesn't know that their Echo Dot has like a temperature sensor and a radar-based motion sensor built into it, but they're not very good at like really leveraging that to make them feel like their Amazon smart home is really helping them. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I think with Amazon, their demos looked good. We'll see what ends up coming out of it. There's some cool stuff there, but I think really it could go even beyond that with really making your home feel smarter without you having to really do anything other than just live your life.
Yeah, and I've been saying for a while too, I think there's an opportunity there for them to sell more stuff because they could, seeing what you have in your house, right? If you have some smart lighting in there, Amazon or whoever does the AI could be like, hey, we noticed you have these lights. If you ordered a sensor, we could automate those for you. Would you like me to order? Would you like me to order that for you right now?
Don't give them ideas, Pete. There's already
I know.
ads.
Well, think about the Echo Show already with its suggestions. I imagine that this is only going to get worse as we become reliant on them. Like, oh hey, I noticed this. And then
We'll see.
It's a nonstop recommendation machine. Like,
Sure.
I think you need more XYZ. You want me to buy that for you?
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, they obviously need to start making money because apparently they haven't been making money off their Lady A division. So they need to somehow figure out how to monetize that, but still be tasteful.
Yachts. Not enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You said you were in Colorado for a while. You're in Atlanta now. I noticed you've got a bit of a southern accent. Are you from the Atlanta area? Is this where you grew up?
I am, yeah. So I grew up in Atlanta from age like 4 till I went to college at Georgia Tech, and then once I graduated college, I moved to South Carolina. So yeah, we were in Denver for 11 years, but I grew up in Georgia. So
okay, so were you in Atlanta, Georgia, in 1991?
91, yes. I sure
was. That was a great year. That was a wonderful year. I don't know if you remember.
The World Series, right?
Greatest World Series of all time. That's right. Game 7, 10-inning, complete game shutout by Jack Morris. Oh, it was a beautiful thing. See, is that your memory of it? Or
I grew up, no, mine was much worse, so it was more of a nightmare. But that's the tricky part. So obviously growing up in the South, college sports are really big. So growing up and having the Braves constantly break our hearts and the Falcons just sucking, I never really cared too much about professional sports. Like we would go to games as a group and stuff like that. And we'd have a good time. But then when we moved to Denver, and they're like, well, here's your football team. I was like, well, I most recently lived in South Carolina. Nobody cared about the Panthers out there. I grew up in Atlanta. The Falcons were never good, so never really cared about the Falcons when I lived here. I was like, I feel like I'd be kind of a bandwagoner if I jumped on at this point. So I was like, screw it. I'll cheer on the Broncos. That worked out pretty well for me because I was in Denver during the Super Bowl 50 win, so I got to enjoy all that. But yeah, it was a little interesting transition going from being mainly college sports to shifting to professional sports, but still following college sports.
Nice. So you went to Georgia Tech?
I did, yeah.
And did you, just as background for your smart home stuff, do you have any technological background, or did you come on that naturally after school?
No, so yeah, I've always been a tinkerer. So growing up, you know, I was a super nerd before I had my driver's license. I was into like Legos and like model trains, like super nerdy stuff.
I think we were all into Legos.
Yeah, and so
I like the model trains. I
pissed my mom off because I sold when I was in college. I sold all my model train stuff for like a penny on the dollar, and she got so mad. I needed beer money, Mom. But and then I was a tinker. I worked on cars once I got a driver's license, and I worked in a bike shop in high school. So I've always been a really hands-on tinkerer person. So it's no surprise I went to Georgia Tech for engineering, got an engineering degree. So I think that's fully carried over into my smart home stuff with tinkering and problem solving and building automations and things like that. It 100% has carried over, and my lovely family gets to reap the benefits and nightmares of it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not surprised that an engineer would gravitate eventually to Home Assistant. That does
eventually, yes. Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
As a tinkerer, then, I know we've talked about the kind of automations and things you've done. Have you created anything, whether it's a device or something that you've built to automate more than just, you know, adding certain devices that you actually had to create with your hands?
As far as smart home, like I like soldered anything or stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of the one thing I'm all into maximizing what I can get off the shelf, I would say. So I don't think I've built anything. I've never messed with like ESP home, like wiring up anything myself or doing that. I have a bunch of sensors the guys from Apollo sent me, so they're kind of out of the box ESP home ready and super easy to set up, which is kind of right up my alley. It's a really interesting thing. So like I love taking things and making them better, but I don't like building them from scratch. So that's kind of been a story in my life. So like cars, for example, I love taking it and making it better. Same thing, smart home wise, like I love taking a house and kind of the same aspect of like modifying a car. You have a basic house and you make it better and make it cooler and things like that. Maybe it's because I don't like to code or anything like that either, or I don't know how to code. I've never built anything myself. In fact, Brett Turner from, I think his channel is Brett.tech, but he was at the happy hour with us at CES. He sent me his little kit. It's like a little ESP based display kit that has like 4 or 5 little display panels on it that you can solder together, wire up. It's been sitting here on my desk for a month or two. I need to get around to, because I do know how to solder from, you know, probably back in the model train days and building stuff like that. But yeah, it's not something I regularly do.
Hey Jimmy, what are some of your favorite automations that you currently have in your house?
Obviously, we gotta have the starter ones like lights and things like that. But I think some of the more unique ones are we have a dog. He's about, well, he's probably 1.5 now, but when he was a puppy last year, we were bell training him. So he would ring a bell whenever he needed to use the bathroom and go out. So I was like, you know, the bell is one thing, but if we're all the way up, like upstairs or down in the basement or something, like how do we know like he needs to go out? So I stuck a Zeus shock sensor or vibration sensor. So good plug for your sponsor there.
That was beautiful. Beautiful, Jimmy.
Onto that the strap for the bell. And so now whenever he rings that or hits that bell to go out, it announces all throughout the house, Banks needs to go out, and it pings our phone and everything like that. So that's actually really helpful for when we were potty training him to alert us around the house. The other one that was always kind of a funny smart home device is, do you guys remember the Z-Wave company Dome? They made kind of some unique stuff back when they were in business. I have one
like
of their
water valves and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, water valves, water sensors, kind of things. But they also had a smart mouse trap. They called it the Mouser. So I have a Z-Wave mouse trap that it's interesting. It's like this little kind of tunnel that they go into, and it uses, I think, like 4 AA batteries, and it ends up electrocuting the mouse or shocks it to kill it. But then it, of course, pings your Z-Wave hub and says, "Yep, I've nuked a mouse. Come get it. Come get it." So I thought that was always a fun little
that way it's
automation.
not just sitting in there decomposing, huh?
Yeah, a little. Yeah,
I
that's
was
the
hoping
thing.
you were going to
So
say, like, it tells you it caught one, then you can nicely release it back to the
Exactly.
wild. But we're
we're not nice
murderers,
to them.
so-
I figured getting electrocuted is probably better than getting strangled in a mousetrap. But
Have you had any mousetrap fails?
no, we actually haven't gotten many false sorts. In fact, we got that mailing order in Colorado because we were next to a field that was, and being a new build, they had just like cleared the land and there was mice constantly going after our dog food in the garage. So we actually haven't used it. We haven't had it hasn't activated yet here in Georgia, but it's always ready to go.
And at least they were mice and not snakes. I had a client once that built a house and it was on top of a snake den. And they didn't know this until after they moved in. And there was like
that's
hundreds of snakes. Yeah,
Oh my
I
gosh,
would have
that's-
just burned it down and built something
I
else.
think that's the right move. I do.
Yeah.
I was thinking though with the mousetrap and those new robot vacuums with the arms, right? You could have an automation, right? Where like, hey, we got a mouse, and then you just send your vacuum over there, and it goes and picks it up.
Yeah.
Only if
throws
the
it-
mouse is perfectly folded in the right weight
True.
and
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the general
Yeah.
environment, then maybe it can do it.
Yeah.
We got to see any real world testing on the old arm there.
I think the biggest automation we have is I think you guys probably similar where it's something you never hope to use. Like we have some automations around like if smoke is detected or carbon monoxide is detected, where I think in either of those cases, it of course announces it throughout the house. It unlocks all the door locks. So if you need to get out of the house, you can. It turns on all the bathroom exhaust fans. The idea being if there's smoke in the house, you want to try to exhaust it out of there so you can see kind of these safety things that hopefully AI will be able to solve, since nerds like us are probably the only ones that think of it. But it's something you never hope to use, but it would be helpful. Same thing with like water leaks. We got water leak sensors everywhere that have, if one of those ever goes off, it shuts off the main to the house and alerts us, turns some lights blue in case you don't have your phone on you, things like that. And that actually saved us in our house in Colorado. We had our water heater like failed on the inside, so the inside rotted out and it started leaking pretty bad, and was able to cut that off. Yeah, those are kind of my favorites.
Any sort of leak sensor, even if it just notifies you or makes a sound, just the awareness that there could be an issue.
Yeah, save you a boatload of money too.
Very damaging if left unchecked. Speaking of, what are some frustrations that you've had with your smart homes, or maybe a failure?
I think we all kind of battle the mysterious offline devices. Like recently, I have a bunch of Akara stuff running through one of their hubs. For some reason, that hub has been flawless for years up until about a month ago. And all of a sudden, it keeps going offline.
Well, you
So
see,
I ended
they
up-
release a new version, so you need to buy that one.
That's
So
right,
just
yeah.
like Apple, now all the
Yeah.
old stuff stops working.
yeah.
AI is now being used to just obsolete your old devices. That's
Yeah.
all.
It's not a
Akara, if you're
conspiracy
listening,
at
maybe
all.
you could send me one of those new fancy camera hubs.
Well, I'm sure they will. I
so
probably
I
have
did
one
the-
just sitting behind me, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. So I did the ultimate solution, which was I put it on a smart plug. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I put it on a smart plug, and that way, whenever it goes offline, I just cut the power to it and turn it back on 5 minutes later. So it's problem solved.
Do you try unplugging it and plugging it back in? But
Yeah, exactly.
with a smart
I do
plug,
that,
like
but in a
It's
smart way.
the modern day
Yeah.
version.
But I think the biggest fail I've ever had is, things go worse in your smart home whenever you're not there. And sure enough, back when we were in Colorado, I had set up an automation to close our garage automatically whenever nobody was home. And I was in Germany at the time for work, and my wife is home trying to leave the house. And for some reason, SmartThings thought we were both gone. So every time she would open the garage, it would just go right back and close it. And so she was like stuck in the garage, just texting me and calling me, "What the hell is going on? I can't get out of the damn garage." I'm like, "Oh gosh, let me
Reach
turn
up.
off that automation."
Hold the cord.
Yeah, exactly. So that was probably our biggest fail. And we should all have our spouses hop on an episode and just go off on the fails. Or maybe not, but
I don't know if
it
we
would
have enough time for that.
Yeah, it'd be
for
like
that
a 3-hour
That's-
episode. But
None
that was
of us
probably
will listen, to be honest. Let's be real.
yeah. But that was probably the biggest fail I've ever had. So I've learned around that automation, adding a lot of safeguards like motion sensors and warnings and things like that before automatically closing the garage. So that was quite the learning experience.
Mine was that we had a abode security system that automatically would turn on and off and had geofencing. And we were on an airplane, and my mom came to, let the dogs out, and of course couldn't turn it off. And there's no keypad or anything. And she's calling and texting, but we're in the air.
Yeah.
I know, Vince, you had one too with a water sensor of some sort.
The water valve, it detected a leak, and Anna's mom was over, so we didn't have water because we were on a cruise and we couldn't be contacted. So waterless house.
Yeah, I learned that lesson with potty training a little boy and shutting off the water to the house. You can guess how that got
He
triggered.
missed. That's awesome.
That's even better than
Okay, we're not going to have leak sensors around the toilets for a couple of years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's even better than a robot vacuum accident.
Right, exactly.
Love it.
Indeed,
Probably a little
is.
easier to clean up, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's a great way to end the show, Jimmy. Your kid
Yep.
peeing all over the floor.
That's right.
And triggering a home automation. So thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome. Really fun conversation. Is there anything you want to plug to the viewers before? I'll put your stuff in the comments below, obviously. But
No, thanks for having me. And other than that, you can visit me on TikTok, Instagram, and please come to my YouTube now that I'm trying to grow that some more.
yeah, this was fun. So on behalf of Brandon and Vinny and our guest Jimmy, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well, and we will see you next time.
See ya.